great hosts. We are honored to have this opportunity to engage with you here in the heart of East Africa. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all of you for taking the time to join us today. We are also extremely grateful to our sponsors whose generous support has made this conference possible. Thank you to our host airline, Kenya Airways, to the Minister of Tourism and Wildlife, to Tourism Fund, Kenya Airport Authority, Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, KICC, and also to our silver sponsor, Celebi and Swissport, and to all our exhibitors and media partners. Thank you again for all your commitment to the aviation industry and belief in value of collaboration. We couldn't have done this event without your contribution. There will be plenty opportunities of network during the breaks, but also during the welcome reception that is kindly hosted by Kenya Airways tomorrow night, and also during tonight's reception that will be hosted by Tourism Fund. Tomorrow's reception is happening in Nairobi National Park, and I want to make sure that all of you put these events into your calendar because those ones are not to miss. Also, I would like to encourage you to download the IGHC event application. You can see the QR code on the screen. So please scan it and use it because the application, it's a great tool how to access all the sessions, learn more about the speakers, potentially schedule sessions with your fellow delegates, and of course share also your feedback and potentially also network in the biz zone. Remember, also please do engage with us on the social media using the hashtag IGHC. Last but not least, please be so kind and also comply with the IATA competition law guidelines that are also available on the event applications. Thank you again for joining us today. Your presence is really crucial to foster the partnership and explore new horizons. Together, over the next 3 days, we shall address the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. And with that, allow me to invite Willie Walsh, Director General of IATA, for his welcome remarks.
Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the 37th IATA Ground Handling Conference and to welcome those of you who have travelled to this wonderful city of Nairobi, to Kenya and to Africa. It's a great honour for IATA to be in Africa hosting this event, and I would like to add my thanks to our sponsors, our exhibitors, our partners in the media, but especially to our host airline, Kenya Airways, who has made this conference possible and was instrumental in bringing us to Kenya for this event. Their warm welcome and hospitality has been amazing, and I know that all of you can look forward to a wonderful event, a very special and unique event tomorrow evening. I think it's going to be something that we will look back on for years to come and remember our visit to this great city and great country. This is a very important conference. I think it's going to be interesting and thought-provoking. Ground handling is a critical part of our industry, often overlooked, but it's great to see so many people here, and I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for us to debate all of the challenges and opportunities facing us as we move forward and welcome what I think will be a wonderful discussion. So thank you for being with us. I hope you enjoy the conference, and I look forward to talking to many of you over the next couple of days. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite our executive keynote speakers, Michael Joseph, Kenya Airways Chairman, and Ellen Kalibuka, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Kenya Airways.
Thank you, and good morning to everybody. I presume you know it's good morning, right? So, once again, good morning, everybody. Good, thank you. So, Willie Walsh, the Director General of IATA, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the 37th IATA Ground Handling Conference. Today we stand at an historic milestone, a moment of pride for Kenya and our entire continent. For the first time in its 37th history, the IATA Ground Handling Conference is being held here in Africa, a testament to our rising voice in global aviation and a cause for celebration of our collective achievements. It is also an immense pride moment for Kenya Airways to also welcome and be part of this great event. My role here is simply to say welcome to you all to Nairobi. I know you will have a great time here and wish you a successful conference and a pleasant stay in Nairobi. And I hope many of you will take advantage of staying a few extra days and enjoying our beautiful country. There are many things to see and do, and once you start to see and do them, you'll come back for many years to come. I must say, I came here 25 years ago and was planning to stay for 3 years, and I'm still here. Let me say just a few words about Kenya Airways before allowing Alan to share some remarks. In our view, Nairobi is the business capital of Africa, with the best business environment, a wonderful place to live and work, and because we are literally on the equator, an opportunity to have great connectivity to the rest of Africa. Indeed, we fly to 34 destinations in Africa and 8 other destinations in Europe, America, and Asia. As with many airlines, and we were discussing this morning, the COVID pandemic had a huge impact on our operations and our financial strength. And I know many of you in this room share that view. And we were just saying this morning that COVID still has a huge role and plays still a huge role in our operations going forward. Although it was a few years ago, there's still many things that occurred during that time which we're still suffering from. And of course with Kenya Airways, due to the government's limited budget and much greater priorities, we received very little support, government support, as our largest shareholder during that time. Nevertheless, our passenger numbers and cargo volumes, our load factors are all much greater than pre-COVID, and we're very happy about that. We just wish we had, like everybody else, more airplanes and shorter supply chains. But let me just say once more, welcome to Kenya, welcome to Nairobi, and I'm sure you'll have a great time. Let me now invite Alan Kulavuka, the Group CEO and Managing Director of Kenya Airways, to say a few words. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. You sound so gloomy. Good morning. Welcome to Nairobi, the best city to live and work because it has the best weather and it has the best people. I expect you to clap for that. So I just wanted, first of all, to say, Excellencies and honorable ministers who have come to represent their countries, Willie and your team, welcome to Nairobi, and we're very glad to have you and to host you. Also wanted to say that for those of you who are coming here in Nairobi or Kenya and Africa for the very first time, welcome, and like Michael said, I'm sure you'll want to come and visit again once you taste the beauty that this city has to offer. I also wanted to say how proud we are as an airline to host this particular event, particularly because it is a first event that is being hosted in Africa, that is being held in Africa, and we look forward to you enjoying your stay here and really enjoying and benefiting a lot from the deliberations that will happen today, tomorrow, and the day after. So hosting this event is truly a powerful statement that says that Africa is emerging as a central aviation hub, and also to emphasize the fact that aviation plays a very critical role in the social, economic development in this continent. We are not going to take this opportunity lightly to showcase Kenya, both as a country and also Kenya Airways and aviation as an industry, as a showcase of how things should be done. We also know that from a ground handling perspective, the growth has been significant. Between last year and this year, the growth it has grown about 7.5%. And so this is a very critical portion of the ecosystem in aviation. I also wanted to talk about aviation in general, to say that aviation, we all know, and coming from IATA, aviation plays a critical role in the economic development in any country. But particularly in the African context, it should play even a bigger role. One of the points I wanted to emphasize this morning is how important aviation is in supporting the well sought after growth that we all in Africa are looking for. We can play a much bigger role today in aviation. In our Kenya, we are playing about, we contribute about $3.2 billion to the GDP of this country. That's about 3%. It can be bigger. And all that needs to happen is there's need to invest more in infrastructure to align the policies that will help to generate more business when it comes to aviation. We also need to move towards digitization, and I'm sure this is going to be one of the discussions today. And lastly, we need to encourage training and the younger people to join our industry. Yesterday, when I was in Kigali, we had an AFRA event there, and we noticed that we didn't have people who are 25 years and below. And maybe I should ask how many of you are 25 years and below, and I suspect there's probably none. So there is need for us, maybe just Michael Joseph. So there is need for us to encourage the youth to join this industry. It is a very exciting industry, and conferences like this ones will help to encourage the youth to join. Then lastly, I'd like to say that tomorrow we'll be hosting a gala dinner. It is going to be a unique dinner. You've never had a dinner like this ever, I can promise you that. So you want to come for this dinner. However, if you do not fly in on Kenya Airways, you will not be allowed into this dinner. So I've asked my team to go around and take the poll. And if you, however, mistakenly flew in by another airline, then I would like to ask you to change your ticket while flying back home and fly on the Pride of Africa. So in conclusion, once again, welcome to Nairobi, welcome to this ground handling conference, and I hope you have very fruitful deliberations going forward. Asanteni sana.
Distinguished guests, let's welcome Nick Karin, Senior Vice President, Operations, Safety and Security, and he will deliver his remark regarding state of aviation and economic outlook.
How do I go this back? There we go. There we go. Okay. Good afternoon. Thanks, everybody, ministers, distinguished guests, Alan, Michael, George, in particular, Kenya Airways for their support, as Willie mentioned, and others this morning. This would not happen today if it wasn't for their contribution, their push, their support. So thank you very much for that. So I'm an ops guy, for those that I have met me before, and an industry outlook is not necessarily perhaps my strongest suit, so you'll bear with me when I make my way through these slides and try to explain their slides So let's get at it. And they're very busy slides and purposely complicated so nobody can decipher what is in there. So I can pretty much say anything I want. This slide basically indicates that demand is continuing to grow. It has settled down, and we mentioned COVID already this morning. Obviously, when we came out of COVID, we let the gates open and everybody couldn't get on planes fast enough, including ourselves, I would imagine. And we saw a bounce back way ahead of forecast. So the domestic markets bounced back in 2023. The international markets were a little slower. They bounced back by the end of 2024, primarily because of the slower restart in China and Asia Pacific. Good news is, though, growth is continuing. So then we looked at, and these are all kind of KPIs or key performance indicators that the economics team constantly monitor. So, and every airline in this room as well. Revenue and cargo ton kilometers by region. And you can see some softening on the passenger numbers, most notably in the Middle East and North America. I'll explain that and talk about that a little bit later. And specifically here in Africa, we can see that it's above the industry average in terms of RPKs, but there has been a sharp decline on CTKs. But bear in mind, 2024 was an exceptional year, and also there was a lot of impact from the Red Sea disruptions, and a lot of traffic moved onto air freight as opposed to sea. Another interesting way of looking at the domestic market evolution. And we do that so that to illustrate that things are changing. And to look at from 2020 to 2024. The growth in China, we've all seen. Over the course of the last 30 years, it's been exponential. India is evidenced here in terms of the fact that they have 3.6 trillion in GDP. That's 5th place in the world. And the IMF are forecasting that they will be ahead of Japan and Germany by 2027. China's domestic market was solid, and in fact, it grew considerably during COVID for tourism within the country. But we're seeing that India is now at pace and planning over the next 30 years and seemed very poised to do the exact same thing that China did. And one need only look at one specific stat: aircraft. 1,974 aircraft on order. Indigo, 500. Air India, 470. That's about 180 aircraft a year. A 15% compounded annual growth rate. Now the question is, can it be delivered? But it's something that we definitely should be paying close attention to and see how the growth is and whether it's sustainable. GDP, we're not the only industry to look at this. Obviously, everybody does, and we look at our contribution. But for the most part, has been hovering around 3% since 2023. Although the most recent forecasts bring that down to 2.5%. And I'll speak about that a little bit further on. On the positive side, however, unemployment rates are at an all-time low. So that's a good thing in terms of demand. Can be a challenging thing in terms of, as Alan mentioned, hiring and inspiring people to join this industry. Double-edged sword, so to speak. Another indicator that we can never ignore is oil. It's often, and most often, the #1 cost in the industry. It's usually somewhere around 25 to 30% for every airline. Good news is it's going down. So you can see 2022 was ridiculous. $175 per barrel and a crack spread of 60. 2023 saw that rationalize a little bit. It was down to 82.5 per barrel and a crack spread of 30. And now, just checked Brent this morning, and I know Willie looks at Brent price every day. It's old habits die hard. 64.7 per barrel and a crack spread of 17. So this is perfect time for airlines to capitalize on that. What's driving the price down? Slower economy, low demand in places like China, because of manufacturing, but also their EV, widespread use of EVs, and OPEC plus increase in production, which has brought these numbers down. So then we kind of want to take a look and take out our crystal ball, so to speak. And economists are rarely right, but they like to predict. You look at some of the regional passenger growth numbers out to 2027. As mentioned earlier, numbers are coming down. That would expect. We're sort of at what they call a normal and anticipated long-run average. All regions on the positive side, with pretty large growth expected in the Middle East, which is perhaps no surprise to anyone. Last week I was in Saudi, and they have some pretty large aspirational goals that the whole country is rallying around, and obviously India driving growth in ASPAC, as well as other locations there as well. So what does that mean in the end? 2019, we were at 4.5 billion. 2024, we were at 5 billion. 2025, we'll be at 5.2 billion. So growing. This is a very important slide, at least for airlines, and perhaps will be part of some of the negotiations between the airlines and ground handlers that will take place here this week. Airfares do not grow at the pace of inflation. It's always been the case. But inflation has eased, but airfare growth remains below the consumer price index. The expectation is that this will continue. However, sustainability costs, taxation, fees, and charges will have an impact on fares, but not on the bottom line of the airlines. Now, on to some of the challenges. One of the largest, and Michael made reference to it earlier this morning, supply challenges. I'll take a few slides to try and put a little bit of a finer point on it so you can have a greater appreciation of what's keeping Alan and other CEOs awake at night, beyond the operation. When you look at deliveries as an example, we are forecasting 1,665 this year. That's well below the peak of 1,813 in 2018. We're going backwards. If you look forward to next year, we're expecting a big ramp up, which remains to be seen. This obviously drives capacity constraints, but also drives cost. Another way of looking at it is to take a look at the backlog. Backlogs are at record levels. So, backlogs used to be hovering around 8,000 to 12,000 fins. We're at 17,000. We remain hopeful that the OEMs will sort this out, but this is extremely concerning. I do have some positive things in the end. To further illustrate, just take a look at the narrow body, wide body, and regional jet waiting times. Average wait time used to be 2 to 3 years. In 2024, the wait time is 5.5 years. So, with the current production rates and the backlogs, it could take over 10 years to receive a new aircraft. To illustrate this, in terms of the impact it's having, 2023 was a banner year. 2024 declined. And we are expecting a decline for 2025, 2026 as well. The expectation is that it will stay that way until we see backlogs improve. No airline in the world can plan on an order today that they could receive in 2035-ish. Imagine that. And it's not just the aircraft. In fact, it's almost equally challenging on the engine side. Engines have been a big factor in some of these challenges. To illustrate that point, we took a look at fleet storage, and we took it by age group. So it would be natural to expect that the majority of aircraft fleet in storage would be old fins. But what you can see is the typical percentage of aircraft in storage used to be around 12%. That's increased to 15%. Where did that increase come from? And if you look down and look at the breakdown, it's not normal to have aircraft that are 1 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years old in storage. Why? Engines. And this is just one particular engine type. The same can be said for others. This has resulted in aircraft utilization which will surpass 2019 levels by next year, which 2019 was a record. What does that do? It reduces touch time, it increases issues around flight completion, on-time performance, everything. So utilization, there is a sweet spot, and we're exceeding it. Everyone's favorite topic. Expect that we would be looking at this. Just to put a finer point on some of these numbers, tariffs on U.S. imports are at the highest level they have been in over 100 years. So from an economist standpoint, it's unprecedented and there's no comparison. So we're in no man's or nowhere land at the moment. So prior to 2017, and everybody probably remembers what happened in 2017 in the US election, we had been clipping along on the planet at around 3% of tariffs on average. Now, it's 23%. No one really knows where this is going to end up. It changes almost daily. So we watch it closely and maintain our position that aviation should remain exempt for all the good reasons it had been in the past. Just in terms of cargo, you look at U.S. imports and exports, you can see a surge in January. This continued in February and in March and in April for everybody trying to ramp up prior to the implementation of the tariffs, many of which were beginning of May. It'll be a good news story, perhaps, for 2025, because the beginning of the year started strong, and the expectation is the end of the year, perhaps, will be not so strong. So, despite all of that, which you guys would refer to as headwinds, we are one of the world's most resilient industries. We still find ways to grow. We still find ways to continue, and we keep our eye on all these important factors. Our PKs are up 3.3% year over year. That's a good thing. PLF is forecasted to be slightly down, but still at 80.7 on average, which is very strong. International RPKs are up 4.9%, with growth in many regions. One example right now here in terms of Africa to the Asia market is growing. Cargo is showing mixed results, and we're keeping a close eye on how that forecast goes for the rest of the year. And of course, the supply chain issues are front and center. We will be issuing a new forecast in a few weeks, which will take into consideration all these things. I encourage you to take a look for that. And if you are interested, there is more information available on IATA.org. You could spend days, weeks, months reading forecasts and information for those aviation nuts that exist in the room. So I encourage you to do that. We also have an economics email site if there are questions that you would like some explanation on, and their response time is really good. So I encourage you to do that. So on a positive note, the last couple of slides were just simply profitability numbers. Okay, this again is a busy slide, but if you look at net profit on the left-hand side and you look at net margin on the right, essentially Our current forecast for 2025 has the industry itself making around $36.6 billion, or a net margin of 3.6%. To put a much finer point on this, often referred to, Willie, quite often, is to look at this per passenger. So essentially, the industry will make around $7 per passenger this year. That's up from 6.4 in 2025. Essentially, a cup of coffee. Not even a coffee in some locations like Geneva. And when you look at this by region, there is significant variation. So with that, I hope I left you with some numbers that perhaps resonate with you. I thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to do that. I hope you find the information useful. Again, thanks to Kenya Airways for tremendous support for the event, and I hope you guys have an excellent conference. Thank you very much.
Good morning again. Before I begin my remarks on ground operations, I would like to personally once again thank you to our host, Kenya Airways, for their generous hospitality. And also very much thank you to His Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya. He will join us tomorrow, and his presence is a powerful reflection of Kenya's commitment to aviation. The commitment is visible in the people and processes that keep our industry moving, especially in ground handling. Ground handling is massive coordinated effort, often behind the scenes, but never out of mind. Every day, handlers enable thousands of safe departures and arrivals, supporting the movement of millions of passengers. And each year, we gather as a community to align on the priorities that will make our operations safer, more efficient, and better for the travelers. Today's operating environment is more complex than ever, with tighter turnaround times, many burdensome regulations, the urgent need to decarbonize, and the existential challenge to digitalize, and the uncompromising requirements of safety. With this in mind, the focus of this year IGAC will be on 4 priorities: embedding safety in every action, global standardization of processes, enhancing baggage operations, and building sustainable and inclusive way forward. Let's begin with safety. In 2024, for the first time, ground-related fatalities involving aircraft were included in our global safety taxonomy of aircraft accident. This gives us a much clearer and more comprehensive picture of safety risk in ground operation. And with that data, we have a better capability to manage those risks using the IATA's accident data exchange as well the incident data exchange, ADX and IDX. For example, ADX aircraft accident data analyzed for the past 10 years reported 12 cases of ground equipment hitting the aircraft and additional events due to misparked equipment, engine ingestions, fluid leak, and some others. The common causes: distractions, missed procedures, equipment issues. These findings led us to key updates in the IATA Ground Operation Manual, IGOM, including clear no-touch zone, mandatory brake checks and use of guide personnel, safer pushback and towing procedures, new protocols for aircraft with inoperative APUs, and hard brakes. We also enhanced fire safety guidance, choke placement rules, and proximity sensor requirements. These are all targeted actions that are based on insight from our data. Implementing these measures will improve safety performance. And the more data we collect and analyze from ADX and IDX, the more we can make our safe industry even safer. Data is also supporting the contribution from the Anti-Icing Quality Control Pool, DAQCP, with 160 airlines members and more than 600 inspections annually performed. Information from DAQCP is playing a crucial and critical role in managing winter operations, weather risk, and supporting safe, efficient operations year-end, even in the most challenging conditions. Alongside data, we are also using a technology to improve safety. And a great example of that is work being done with enhanced ground support equipment. As you know, enhanced GSC comes with proximity sensors that prevent the equipment from damaging the aircraft. The more we use enhanced GSC, the fewer incidents of ground damage to aircraft. It is that simple. And it's a cornerstone of the IATA ground damage reduction strategy. In 2024, we introduced the Enhanced GSC Recognition Program to incentivize the adoption of Enhanced GSC. And since May 2024, we have received 98 fleet declarations, with 28 stations already recognized for maintaining high ratio of Enhanced GSC in their fleet. Ground operators like Menzies, Celebi, Gold Air, Swissport, Qatar Aviation Services, and Hechtel are leading the way. From April 2025, GSC fleet declaration will be mandatory for all ISEGO stations, and adoption of enhanced GSC is for us not just a safety win, it's also a much smarter way how to manage the risk. This year, we will expand the program from current focus areas that are for belt loaders and passenger service to also include elevating equipment for persons with reduced mobility. And we will also introduce additional requirements and recognition measures for our handlers who are really making a significant contribution and investment into enhanced GSC. Another area where we are making progress is with improvement of the accuracy of weight and balance data. This is critical. Errors can affect takeoff performance, fuel efficiency, and ultimately safety. The recent published digital standard X565 automates how weight and balance data is exchanged, improving safety and reliability. Already Lufthansa Group, Pegasus, Turkish Airlines, Etihad are on board with using these standards, supported by departure control system providers like Amadeus Altéa and Reconcentra. Following the release of our white paper calling the aircraft manufacturers to lead this change, Boeing is already using the 565 standard for their 737, and Airbus has started test data production for Airbus 350 fleet, and with more aircraft models to follow. IATA is, of course, backing up this shift with training tools and free online learning. Our goal is fully digital, consistent approach to one of the most critical turnaround steps. And in relation to this development, IATA is also finalizing the electronic loading instruction and reconciliation standard set for the release by the year end. Early adopters are seeing 80% fewer loading errors and 30% of delays reduction. And this, of course, pairs with the upcoming release of the digital notification to captain that all support safe and faster operation. Now let's look on global standardization of processes. As we all know, global standards are the foundation of safe and efficient operation. This includes ground operation, for which IATA Ground Operation Manual, the IGOM, and the Airport Handling Manual, AHM, are the defining requirements, procedurally and contractually. Supporting the adoption of IGOM and AHM is ISEGO, the IATA Safety Audit for Ground Operation. 2024 was a record year for ISEGO. We hit 400 station accreditation, a significant increase from the previous years. We are also on track this year with 400 audits scheduled and with over 50 regulators and airports that use ISEGO to complement compliance and licensing schemes. ISEGO impact is clear. 170 airlines are using ISEGO audit reports. 545 internal airlines audits have been avoided. 359 times the data from ISEGO reports have been used during procurement discussions. Audit time has been reduced for 350 stations. And together, all these improvements saved $4.7 million for airlines and $4 million for ground service providers just in 2024. Looking ahead, ISAGO is getting even better. We are launching an enhanced audit process in mid-2025 with single auditor audit scheme, remote documentation check, more focus on implementation, new checklists mirroring AHM and IGOM, and reduced audit fees. And we are not leaving a preparation to chance. We have run over 20 familiarization webinars for ground handling service providers, and GSPs are also now fully on board of the IATA One Source platform, offering transparent audit registry for all. Moreover, the operational portal, formerly the IGOM portal, is now used by 221 airlines and 259 GHSPs to publish their gap analysis, to benchmark operational standards, and to reduce variations. In February, we have expanded this tool to include training, organization and safety requirements, and also added a cargo handling for the first time. The more stakeholders use this tool, the more benefit our industry will experience. If you haven't used the support tool, please do. And if you have and you see the value, please help us to spread the word, because we would love to have more organizations to join. These efforts to harmonize standards and improve collaboration are all part of broader push to strengthen the foundation of ground operations. And nowhere is the foundation more visible than in the passengers when we are focusing on baggage handling. And of course, that brings me to another priority, which is enhancing baggage operation. Modern baggage operations are central to a passenger journey. That's where we have launched a 10-year roadmap built around 3 pillars: information exchange and data standardization. We are replacing outdated messaging system with modern API-based messaging to improve data quality, to reduce cost, boost security, and future-proof operation. We estimated that by switching from teletype to modern baggage messaging standards, annual saving of $1 billion is possible. The second pillar is all about baggage tracking and automation. We are driving adoption of technologies like electronic bag tags, RFID, GPS, and Bluetooth Low Energy that enable end-to-end baggage tracking and paperless handling. Our work on Resolution 753 is central here. In 2024, we have helped 220 airlines build implementation plan for their baggage tracking. By the end of 2025, we aim for 80% of airlines to have plans in place and 30% of airlines network to be using baggage tracking based on Resolution 753 actively. Our 5-year goal, 100% end-to-end baggage tracking amongst our member airlines, and the retirement of our paper tags. The last pillar of the baggage roadmap is claims, fraud prevention, and passenger experience. We are targeting inefficiencies in the claim processes and helping prevent fraud through the use of artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, and camera-based technologies and robots. At the same time, we are focused on streamlining the journey for passengers and airlines alike. To support, we released 2 white papers on auto-reflighting, automating rerouting after baggage mishandling, and another related to license plate number standardizations. And when new US regulation emerged around the refunds for delayed baggage and wheelchair mishandling, we quickly helped airlines to comply. We have also finalized updates to key baggage standards, including the IATA Bag ID chart, which has been updated for the first time in 2 decades, and now it's in its final stage of approval. Together, these steps will deliver smarter, more seamless baggage journey. The 4th priority that I would like to address is building a sustainable and inclusive way forward. The biggest gains in decarbonization aviation will be made in how we power our aircraft, particularly with sustainable aviation fuel. But that doesn't excuse gains that could be made on the ground. Electrifying GSE, ground support equipment, can cut emission between 35 to 52% per aircraft turnaround. To support the industry transition to electric GSE, IATA just released a guidance covering everything from operational planning to battery strategies to infrastructure readiness and safety protocols. It also includes economic modeling tools to support smart investment decision. Our environmental assessment program, can help put this essential effort into context of companies' overall approach to sustainability. IENVA is a voluntary program built on internationally recognized environmental standards. But more than a certification, it is a structured, credible platform that can help airlines, airports, and ground handlers to take a comprehensive approach to improve their environmental performance. Let's talk about inclusivity. The reality is very complex. There might be over 400 types of different mobility aids, many powered by lithium batteries. Airlines must accept them, often with no advance notice. Guidance is often incomplete or missing. We are working with regulators and manufacturers to close these gaps, because inclusive travel isn't optional, it is essential. Ground handling is more than support function. It is strategic infrastructure. It ensures safety, it drives efficiency, it shapes the passenger journey. As our industry evolves, the work we do from Nairobi to New York, Doha to Delhi, we ensure ground operation evolves with it. Safety, standardization, sustainability, they are not just buzzwords. They are priorities, they are actions, and they are outcomes that depend on leadership at every level of our organizations. So as we continue this week's conversations, I encourage each of you to think practically. Ask how your operation aligns with those global priorities, share what's working, and challenge what is not. The next chapter of ground handling is not being written in a boardroom. It's being written on the ramp by people who care deeply about getting things right. Thank you. I look forward to the work we will continue to do together. I wish you a very successful conference. And now allow me to welcome back Nick Karin. And he is the moderator of the next sessions, and he will introduce his panelists and the executive roundtable discussion. Nick, our Senior Vice President, Operations, Safety, and Security.
I'm back. This time, not economic slides, although I could start again if you'd like to go through them one more time. No? No? It's a great honor of mine to be able to facilitate the next session. Hopefully you will hear less from me and a lot more from them. I'd ask if they would, by name I'll call and you can come up and join me. Alan Kalavuka from Kenya Airways, please come join and pick a seat, any seat. Welcome. Mohammed Hano from Chairman of the ASC Group. I'm not sure, I haven't seen Rachel. Oh, here you are. Okay, Rachel. Now I'm going to mess this up. Nijwa. Close. Rachel is the CEO of Swissport for Kenya and head of East and Southern Africa. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we found someone out cleaning the washrooms. We needed an extra seat filled, so we have Willie Walsh who decided to join us. So we're going to take the next 40 minutes or so and talk about what ground operations based on a lot of the things that Monica had just mentioned. One thing, and the same thing in the slides in terms of what I had said on the economics, growth. Growth's a good thing, but with it comes challenges and opportunities. So I got a few questions. I'm hoping that this probably more than likely evolves into a conversation between you four. But I will start, we have two ground operations folks and two airline people, and I'm the moderator, so I'm the tiebreaker in case they get into a disagreement on something. But in terms of the growth, so I'll start with you, Mohammed. What are the biggest challenges currently faced by the ground handling industry?
Several.
Yeah. Okay.
You good?
I think you're on the mic.
There are there are several challenges that we are facing. The first thing is the auditing. Auditing. Lots of airlines, although we are an ISAGO certified, yet they still insist of doing their main audits with us. We've sent them our certifications, and we ask them to check the ISAGO portal so that they can see what we can do and if they can change. This is one of the main things. The second thing is, let's be frank, the procurement of the airlines. They want the best quality of service, but the cheapest price. And this is really...
Okay, you're not supposed to go into the elephant in the room right at the beginning. Okay, keep going.
That's I would say, the two main challenges we are facing. That, we look for quality, we look for safety, we look for good training, and we are giving, I would say, a good relationship with our customers, and I will not say customers, but I will say our partner airlines, which I prefer this term, because actually they are our partners. But, and that's what we always look for it. These are, I would say, the main challenges that we are facing nowadays. Okay. And monopoly, and duopoly.
Alan, what do you say to that? What do you see as challenges, and do you have any response to Mohammed?
Yeah, I think picking up on the issue about low prices. In fact, I think they should be lower. You see, if you think about Africa, for example, when you're saying you're making less than $1 per passenger, it means that everybody has to measure their coat according to how they fit them. So Africa in particular, if I take Africa as an example, is a very high-cost environment. And so everything that we can bring down, we should bring down. The cost of ground handling in Africa is extremely high. And so I think it's fair for airlines who, as everybody knows, take the lowest margins of all the ecosystem around aviation. But I wanted to add two things as well, in terms of challenges from an operator point of view. If you think about, for example, in Africa, we have a wide range of issues. So the first, on the one hand, we have countries where we have monopolies for ground handlers. So they dictate the price anyway. So it goes against what Mohammed has just said. And we have quite a number of those, where the government has mandated for you to have only one ground handler in that particular location. So that's bad enough for airlines. On the other hand, we have countries who have too many ground handlers. And so obviously that's good for the airline, but it's not good for the ground handler, because then of course they cannot be able to scale up. So we have a wide range. We don't have a sweet spot in Africa. And I think, let me just pick those two as challenges that we see particularly in this region.
Rachel, what do you think?
I do agree with both my colleagues, and I wish
You can't
to
agree with
add,
both of us. We're disagreeing.
Yeah,
I'll say,
forever the diplomat.
in terms of, I think what I would probably want to add is one of the biggest challenges that we see is around our people. How do we attract, how do we retain our talent? And I think if we look at ground handling, there are times when I introduce myself and I say, I'm in ground handling. And there's a follow-up question, which is, what do you do? Even being able to explain this to the young talent to come and join us. And once they join us, it almost looks like it's a transition, and off they go. So that's one of the biggest challenges. I know it keeps us awake. How then do we give them purpose? How do we retain them? How do we recruit right? And in as much as in this particular, like we could say Africa, it's easy to get the talent, but the challenge is different. It's how to retain them. In different markets, it will be to attract and retain as well, both combined. The other challenge I foresee is around the constrained resources. We share the same resources. I think if you look at the infrastructure, the numbers, you shared the numbers. The numbers have grown in terms of the passenger numbers. And the speed in which we have expanded our facilities, our infrastructure, our airports, our aprons, vis-a-vis the growth, I think in terms of the structures, that has brought in constraints on that front. In terms of agreeing, I wish to call Mohammed's triple squeeze. That I fully agree with you. It's a triple squeeze when it comes to the airline. And I think from Alan's perspective, I do agree on the fact that when it comes to too many players, I think that's something that we need them to agree. In one market, there are too many, in other markets, none. So how do we navigate through all that?
Okay, I'll come back to these things because they're all very, I think each one of them have something peculiar to, and talk about what we potentially could do about it. Willie, after hearing all that, what's your perspective on?
Yeah, well, I would agree with a lot of what Rachel has said. You know, I think attracting and retaining talent is probably the biggest challenge our industry faces, and it's all aspects of our industry. It's ground handling providers, it's the airlines, it's the MROs. So I think the future in relation to talent is an area that we do have to focus on because it's becoming more and more challenging, not just to attract, but when we've attracted people into the industry, to retain them. I think that's something we're really going to have to focus on, all of us. You know, in relation to what airlines require, I think the relationship actually between airlines and ground handling suppliers is actually pretty constructive. You know, when I compare it to the relationship between airlines and airports, I think it's a much stronger relationship that we have with our ground handling companies, and I think that's something we can build on. But we've got to acknowledge, you know, that this is a brutally competitive industry, the airline industry, with wafer-thin margins. And as you showed in your presentation, and as Alan has mentioned, you know, a net margin of 3.6, 3.7%. And that's getting close to what is a record margin for us. We've never made more than 5% as an industry. You know, it means that we've got to keep a real laser focus on our cost base. And when you're looking at an industry in Africa that's generating a net margin of $1 per passenger, it makes it extremely difficult to control costs in a way where you can generate a margin that makes sense for our business. So it's just one of the realities of our industry. Our fares don't keep pace with inflation. They never have. Yes, fares have gone up, but inflation has gone up even more. And, we've got to try and work with one another to make the best of what is a great industry, which is, critical to the economic development of every country. But it's always going to be tough when it comes to profitability.
So everybody touched on almost the same things in a different way from a different perspective. Let's start with retention of talent. Just one question, and then I'm going to ask you what you would do to fix what you believe the challenges are. But what's the attrition rate? Now, you don't have to obviously give your exact numbers, but what's attrition rate running at right now in terms of on the ground handling side, roughly? Your attrition rate?
That's me?
No, Mohammed. Yeah.
Could you repeat it again, please?
What's your current attrition rate? What's your turnover?
Well, before 2020, it was, I would say, 0.2%, my turnover.
Okay.
After 2020, it reaches to nearly 14 to 15%.
Okay. And you're seeing similar on your side?
We look at different markets. In some markets, it's higher than 50%.
Okay.
So you're constantly hiring. Best in class is single digits.
Okay. Yeah. Do you self-handle at all? Or is it all outsourced?
No, we self-handle.
And you have a high attrition rate on your side?
No,
No?
I'm not seeing that. Yeah.
You have a pretty good retention rate?
Yeah, very good employer also.
Okay. Benefits and pay, I guess. Okay, so Mohammed, you mentioned what your challenges are. Now you have a wand. What would you do to fix it?
Well, for us, I would love that, for example, for the ISAGO certifications, I would love that IATA considers, same as they request the airlines to have an IOSA, to be IOSA linked to ISAGO, so that ISAGO will be accredited by all airlines.
So essentially you're saying making ISAGO mandatory?
Yeah. ISAGO for us, I am one of the persons who started putting the standardizations of ISAGO since a long time ago, and I believe in it. I believe in it for the benefit of the industry. I don't know why some airlines, they refuse accepting it, and they insist. But as IATA was managed to push the airlines and to push the authorities of each country to accept, to be the airlines that they give their AOCs is an IOSA certified. It should be also that it has to be compared with, together with ISAGO.
Okay,
I actually think it's a great point, but I'm really optimistic about ISAGO. And, Nick will tell you, I was quite skeptical about ISAGO 2-3 years ago because I saw very low adoption rates. I didn't see that the industry was benefiting from it. I challenged Nick. I said, Nick, we either have to make this work or, give it up. And I've been really surprised at how we've seen such adoption recently. So I think it's only a matter of time, Alan, before everybody recognizes that this is the right way to go. And the benefits, as Monica pointed out, the fact that you get an ISAGO audit, and that's it. You don't have 15 airlines coming in to audit you. If we can get all of the airlines to recognize in the same way as we have done with the IOSA audit, I think it's just a question of timing, but we will get there. I'm actually very optimistic now about further adoption of ISAGO.
I'm actually optimistic about it, and I look forward to be still in the aviation industry.
Let me put a little color on what Willie said. He said if we don't fix it, he's going to beat me within an inch of my life. But so that was the incentive to get to see it improve. But Alan, you got
Yeah, I just
airline perspective on this?
Yeah. I wanted to associate myself with those comments, but as a ground handler ourselves, we would recommend that there could be a way of integrating ISEGO and IOSA, because sometimes it becomes quite onerous to have both audits run. And so if there's a way, there's an interplay so that you have, and I don't know how it's going to be done, but you don't have to have double audits. Maybe some elements of the audit are included in IOSA, so you only have IOSA and ISEGO done somehow at the same time. I know there are different types of audits, but there is an overlay on the two of them.
So you're suffering the same type of audit fatigue? The airlines, the ISEGO, and then the airlines still coming in and doing the exact same thing?
That's indeed correct. I think it needs to be a balance. Yes, it's important that we have the ISAGO, but over and above that, we have the airlines, the individual airlines coming to do the audits. And the audits could be on safety, security, it could be on operations. So if we could get a balance between the two, I do understand and appreciate that the airlines need to probably have some sort of audit, but we could also, if you have ISAGO, then make it light, make the audit light, not too intense. So it needs to be a delicate balance.
Yeah. It's audit fatigue has been a long-standing issue. I think that's an interesting point in terms of looking at ways to integrate some of the IOSA and ISEGO to avoid airline audits. But from your side, Mohammed, ISEGO has improved, and it was a great initiative from the start. And I know you and Joseph and others were involved in getting this thing off the ground. It's grown, but are you actually seeing the amount of audits reduce, or is it still the same?
No, it's nearly the same. Sometimes, although, I'll give you an example. We had one of auditing, and the ISEGO auditor who was auditing, his airline came and audited us again. Although we gave them the ISEGO certification and everything. I don't know this, we have to do it internally. So
a bit of tourism, perhaps. That's always been sort of the suggestion that it's hard for airlines to let go of something that they enjoy, the ability to go out and smell the kerosene and get out of the office and do it themselves.
But I think it's around building up the credibility of the ISEGO program, and it does take time. But I think we're on the right path, and I can speak as a former airline CEO. Audits are important, and you have to welcome the fact that you're being audited, because for me it was always around identifying any issues, any problems. So I was always positive towards being audited, but you don't need to be audited every day by everyone. There is an important balance to be achieved. And I think for our industry, we are moving closer and closer all the time to a standard way of doing business. It's much more standard today than it was when I started 46 years ago, when every airline did everything differently. I think it's now very much the case that people are looking at best practice. What's the best way to turn an aircraft around? You don't have to have 500 different ways of turning an aircraft around. So I think we are moving as an industry to more sort of industry standard operating procedures. So as I said, I'm optimistic that in time, as we build up more credibility around ISEGO, and I think we are definitely on the right path on that issue, we will see greater benefit.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I do second your point regarding the improvement, because this year's the changes that has been done in the auditing, it's much better than previously.
Yeah, it'll reduce the time, it'll reduce the cost. It should improve efficiency, focused on the things that need to be done, less on documentation. These are all the right steps, which it's unique because it's not just the airlines designing this, which was quite the case for IOSA. it's actually being designed by the ground handling people and the airlines. So I think it's a natural evolution. I find it interesting, though, that we look at DAQCP. DAQCP, perhaps not so much an issue here in this part of the world, but the de-icing audits, they're done and they're accepted by everybody. There's not another group of airlines going in to do a de-icing audit. They're accepting it. So, to Willie's point, we need to find a way to get to that level of credibility where, if it's a SAGO audit on your operation, it's accepted by everybody that's operating in and out of. So I think that's a good challenge. Does that resonate with everybody in the room to a large degree, certain degree? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Willie agrees. So we'll beat the audit part to death. Staffing. So everybody says, now it doesn't matter where you were. I mean, we're specifically talking about ground operations, but this is the same for flight ops. This is the same for maintenance. But from a ground handling standpoint, if you were king for a day, Rachel, for you, will be queen. But what would you do what are you doing, or what can be done to help address the issues of getting a younger generation into this type of work?
Number one, I always say to my new team that love what you do and not wait for wages at the end. Okay, wages, your salary is important, but if you don't love what you are doing and put yourself in the shoes of a client or a customer, a passenger coming to the check-in, especially with the lost and found people, then you will not feel what he is feeling. Just try to put yourself in his position, wear his shoes, and be in the same boat. That's my main focusing to all my new team. I always attend 1 or 2 sessions of the induction to my people. I like to be involved with them. I like to give them the encouragement that aviation, it's an industry full of hope, full of services, full of energy, of everything. For me personally, I find when I started, when an aircraft was just born, I say, my baby has born. So it's a birth.
Very much cultural. Alan, your view?
So, first off, I think we need to demystify generally aviation. It's not properly understood. Rachel was saying that when she says she does ground handling, people ask her, what is that? So we need to demystify generally aviation, and maybe more specifically ground handling. What is it? So that the onus is on us as operators, both ground handlers and also airlines, because we need to attract younger talent. It's a very, very interesting industry, as we all know, because we're in the industry, but not well understood. So there's a lot of work that we need to do to educate and demystify, and so people can understand it better. It's a big industry. You can do many things. You can move from ground handling into operations, flight, ground. You can do back office. And so it's a wide, very interesting field, which the young people, I think, once they understand it, would be more attracted to the industry. And I think the second other thing we should do is to train people from a multi-skill position, so that you don't qualify on only one field. The younger people today, the Gen Zs, would like to be multi-skilled, so they can be able to move flexibly from one area to another much easier. And also, because we are a global industry, the excitement is, for younger people, is that they are able to move across borders and work outside their geographical, national jurisdictions. So that's a very attractive value that they would appreciate once we do the education. So that's, I think, how we should do it.
Rachel?
If I was a queen and had this magic word, probably what I would want to see is younger talent, young people in this industry tomorrow. we've got today. And I think that goes down to what Alan is saying. Getting the young people on board, creating the visibility around ground handling, making them understand what ground handling is, the great career opportunities that you can get. And so it's around attracting the best talent into the industry. And once you've attracted, then we can work towards retaining them. And being very, very intentional around initiatives to retain our people, which is give them purpose. Let them understand, if you're a ramp operator, how are you contributing to the passenger experience? Yeah. Let them understand that. Let them feel valued. Let them feel seen and heard. Give them purpose, and they will be engaged and will stay. And around being intentional, obviously look at the wellness. What are we doing for our staff? Yes, we can talk and we can say it's very important, the challenge getting them on board, but what are we doing once we get them? Are we investing in them? So being also very deliberate in terms of investing in our people, supporting them towards their career development. But when you're recruiting, you're not just recruiting for that entry position, but you're recruiting for a leadership position. We're looking from a ramp agent to the next CEO. And if there's one industry that's very, very good at it, is this industry, where you see majority of the CEOs that I've interacted, I've seen them, they come from check-in all the way to leadership positions or even head of departments. So it's just being able to show them and direct and they create it, visualize for them that this is your path. And we're able then to retrain, attract the young generation. I was very, very clear about the young generation. Because if you look at what is where we are today around digital transformation, that is a generation that will change. And we need them in our industry.
Dear, I'm afraid to give you the wand, but...
No. Well, I think Rachel has said it, you know. Like if you look to the future, everybody's talking about the challenges of AI and what's that going to mean for employment. You know, the one thing you could say for certainty is, you know, we are going to require people to make our industry operate. You know, yes, we've seen some technology, but regardless of what will be developed, AI is not going to remove the need to have people who are working on the ramp.
Not for the next 20 years anyway.
I can't see it, you know. So it is an exciting job. I think you're right, Rachel. I don't think we've had sufficient focus on the opportunities that exist. You know, when we talk about opportunities in the airline business, we tend to gloss over sometimes the ground handling aspect of it. And, you know, not everybody is made to go to university and get a degree. You know, the vast majority of people, I suspect, you know, will be looking for skills elsewhere. And I think our industry still has an opportunity to provide great skills, particularly, as you said, for young people, and to give them opportunities and to show them that there is a career path as well. So, you know, I think we've got to shine the spotlight on the industry and make sure that people understand that it's a fantastic opportunity in an exciting industry. And yes, it's hard work. You know, it is a tough job, but, you know, people are often motivated, as you said, Alan, motivated by, Mohammed, motivated by having a challenge that they can succeed in.
So it's really about targeting the right people that are actually interested and passionate or potentially passionate about this business.
Actually, you can even sell. I mean, they may not be interested because they don't know it.
Yeah.
I think the idea is to sell the industry to people who don't really know about it. And I'm even thinking that, is it time maybe we look at the nomenclature? Is ground handling a attractive enough name? Are you a ground handler? Maybe call it something else that is more attractive to the young people. Because nowadays, you know, they want this nice little, better names. Let me use the safer words.
We'll ask ChatGPT to come up with a new name.
Exactly.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
So, we only have a couple of minutes left. Any final thoughts? I mean, we're not going to get into pricing. We don't have enough time, although that could probably be a session all on its own. But any final thoughts in terms of challenges and opportunities on the ground ops side? We'll start with you, Mohammed. We'll finish off with Willie.
Actually, for us in the AIC group, we look always forward that to put the idea that airlines and ground handlers are one coin and two faces of one coin.
Yeah.
And we complement each other. They complement their passengers in the sky. We complement them on the ground. That's I always believe in it.
United with a common enemy?
Sorry?
United by a common enemy? Willie could probably take that in the end. But Alan, any final thoughts?
No, I want to piggyback on what Mohammed has said, but maybe broaden it a little bit more to say, this industry has to work in a very harmonious way. The entire industry, the entire ecosystem in aviation. You talk about ground handlers, of course, operators, of course, airports, and everybody in between have to work harmoniously. I think it is one of the industries which relationships, he calls them partnerships, which I agree with. The partnership between the various players is absolutely critical. And so for us, when we are working with our ground handlers, we consider them partners, to your point. And the same goes for the other players as well, particularly the airports, who run the infrastructure. So very, very important for us to work and think together. Obviously, we as operators are the center of everybody. And like they say, everybody else is making money, and we are helping them to make the money.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's quite the race to the bottom that it used to be. Yeah. It seems to be a little bit better. Rachel, any final thoughts?
I think listening to Alan, the word that comes into my mind is sustainability. We have to run the business, ground handling, and in a sustainable way. I think that's the word. How do we then work together, all of us, because we need each other. We have the shared vision to give a safe, secure, seamless experience to the passenger. So how do we ensure that none of us is suffering, but all of us are thriving? And that's all through the collaboration and working together and looking at our operations from, what we do today, how does that affect our future, the future of this industry?
I think we're getting there, to Willie's point, on the ground operations side, the airline side, that there seems to be one lacking dancing partner in some respects. Final words?
Yeah, no, I think the relationship, Mohammed said it, and everybody said it really, the relationship between the airline and the ground handling company is very important. I think it's got stronger rather than weaker. I think if you look at it from an airline point of view, we put our customers in the hands of the airport. In my opinion, they don't do a great job. In many cases, a lot of the challenges we face with, airport security, who don't treat our customers like customers. I don't think you can say that about the ground handling partners that we have. We trust our partners to provide an excellent service to our customers. And in most, if not nearly all cases, they do that. And I think it's an important relationship. I think it's a relationship that's going to be stronger in the future because, as airlines, we have to rely and trust partners that are working with us, to a common goal. And the common goal is to make sure that our customers enjoy the experience and want to come back and do it all again. So You know, as I said, I think from my observation of it, and I've dealt with airlines who do all self-handling, and I've dealt with airlines who do, in effect, completely outsource their passenger handling. There's no single model that, you know, is the right way. I think it depends on the airline and the business model, but I think it's a critical relationship. And, you know, I'm looking to the future. But we have to, as I said, make sure everybody understands just how important a business it is for the airline.
No airport sticks out, no? Too easy. Thank you very much for taking the time. Really, truly appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of conference, and thanks again. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
It's almost time for a break, but before we break for our networking session, let's watch Kenya Airways video.
Africa's most awaited loyalty program is here.
Chance?
Africa's most awaited loyalty program is here. It's making you a priority when checking in. It's a priceless smile from a gift given. It's a sweet escape to premium lounge facilities.
Good afternoon, passengers.
It's an upgrade to a class of more comfort and luxury.
At an altitude of 30,000 feet and an airspeed of 400 miles per hour.
It's picture-perfect trips with a car rental. It's deeper connections through dinner dates. It's the excitement of discovery and the strengthening of family bonds on holidays. It's Asante Rewards, your loyalty program from Kenya Airways.
So now I think it's very clear what Alan was saying, that everyone should have come to Nairobi using Kenya Airways. So time for break, networking break. There's a press conference that is going on in Simba Hall on level 1. Otherwise, please come back, enjoy your coffee, but come back at 11:30. Thank you so much.